Welcome to our science lesson. That is, we are still discussing animals, and this is our last subtopic on this topic, animals. Now, during our last discussion, we talked about adaptation of different animals to their feeding. So today we are going to discuss adaptation of still animals, but now on the movement. We also talked about, during our introduction, we talked about why do animals move from one area to another, where we said that these animals can move because of either danger, maybe there is an enemy, if they are for there is predators. They can also move because they can migrate from one area to another. We can also move because we are looking for food. We can also move because we are looking for water, shelter, and either housing. So those are the reasons, the different reasons that may cause movement of these animals. But now, what do they have that make them now move from one zone to another? So different animals are adapted to their movement situations according to what they have. So today we are going to discuss that, and we'll start by underlining the term movement. So if somebody asks you what is movement, this is just the change in position from one area to another area, or from one place to another place. That is what we discuss as movement, the change of position from one point to another point. So also we have this term that calls locomotion. We have what we call locomotion. So when you talk of locomotion, this is the movement of the whole body, and all animals move. So this is the movement of all body, that is locomotion. So we have examples of movement. During our introduction of animals, we talked about different type of movement. We said we have those animals that walk, we have those that fly, we have those that swim, and also we have those that jump, we have those that fly, hop, and also leap. So those different movements, they have specific characteristics that help them either to move by walking, to move by flying, or swimming. So today you are going to discuss these three types of movement. We will start by discussing flying, swimming, then we'll also finish by discussing leaping and hopping. Now straight away we are going to give out the characteristics of these animals that enable them to fly from one area to another. And as you know, all of you know that most of the animals that fly are birds. All birds fly. So we have those birds that have wings, they have feathers but do not fly. So what makes this animal here to fly? Number one, we have to talk of the presence of wings. When you look at birds, they have wings, and on their wings they have feathers. So these two things, they enable these birds or animals to fly from one zone to another. So the wings, they are adapted for flying. The wings of the birds or the animals are adapted for flying. The feathers. What is the importance of feathers to these birds? These feathers increases the surface area that enables these animals now to either to float in the air or also to flap in the air. And when they flap, they increase this surface area so that for easier movement in the air. So the feathers increases the surface area for flapping. Also, this one helps it to move against the air. When the air is moving this direction, the feathers on the wings help these animals to move against the air. Also, we talk of them having what we call the insects, having what we call the small body. They have small body, but when you look at the types of wings, they have very large wings. These wings on the small insects, they help these insects to move from or to fly from one area to another. So if somebody asks you the reason to why the insects have small body but they have large wings, is just for flying. The most reason is for flying. That's the first adaptation of animal for flying. There is presence of wings. Number two, we talk of the presence of hollow bones. When you when you eat like a hen, you get that inside the hen, it doesn't have what we call the bone marrow. When the hens lacks bone marrow, this makes these birds to be very light, so that now they can move in the air. So the reason for hollow bones is just to make them very light, so that they can float in the air and also for easier movement. Then we have number three characteristics or adaptation. We talk of now these birds or these animals having what we call the streamlined body. When you hear of streamline, to streamline is just to make it very light or to make it very easier for movement, or to make it for very quicker movement. So we talk of streamlined body. What is a streamlined body? When you talk of a streamlined body, this is a type of a body where now when you look at the end of the bird, for example, if this is a bird, when you look at the end where the bird is moving to, you get that the head is small. The head is small, but then it is V-shaped. It is V-shaped at that, so we say it is narrow at the end or at the direction where the bird is moving. So it has what we call a streamlined body, and a streamlined body, it is narrow towards the direction that this animal is moving to. Now also, what is the importance of this streamlined body? I've already elaborated it. I said it allows for easier movement or a quicker movement or smoothly movement, or also to easier to move in the air, that is under a streamlined body. Then still on this streamlined body, it reduces friction. So in the air, we have that air that is moving against the bird. When the bird is taking this direction, we have that air that is moving towards where the bird is coming from. So this one creates what we call friction. So the friction between the surface of the bodies of the bird and the air causes now these animals to have that difficulty in movement. But because of the presence of it having a streamlined body, it enables this bird or this animal to fly through the air very easily. So that is a streamlined body. Now that is all about animals that fly. We move to those animals that swim. What are the adaptation of these animals that swim? Now an example, a good example of these animals that swim, we have what we call the fish. Now when you have a fish, the first adaptation that you have to note from the fish is that they have the presence of fins. What are fins? Fins, if I can have I have a diagram here of a fish. Now when you observe this fish, it has what we call the fins. So it has the fins, it has what we call the dorsal fin, which is this upper fin. Then it has what we call the tail fin, which is that the behind fin. Then it has the anal fin. The anal fin is next to the tail fin. Then it has the pectoral fins. Then it has what we call the pectoral. We have the pelvic fin and the pectoral fin. In addition, it has what we call the lateral lines. We want to discuss the adaptations and the function of these fins and lateral line. It has what we call the lateral line. The importance of this lateral line, we want to discuss it, but it is just to ensure that to sense danger or to sense the changes in the pressure or inside the water. Then this fish also, it has what we call the pectoral or the pectoral cavity. The cavity here allows now the water, so that now if the fish is moving in water, the water can enter through the mouth. Then it contains oxygen. That is when it enters. Then when it leaves through this, it gets out with carbon dioxide. So it also eases a gaseous exchange of this fish here. So directly we talk of the adaptation of this pelvic and their function. So we start by the pelvic and the pectoral fin. So the pelvic and the pectoral fins, these ones help these animals or the fish to move, either to swim upward or to move downward in water. So if the fish want to move upward, it uses what we call the pectoral and the pelvic fins. Also, it acts as a brake to this fish. So we say it slows down the movement. So the pelvic and the pectoral fins, as we have seen them, they help this fish to reduce the speed of movement. Number two, we talk of the tail fin or the caudal fin. When we talk of the caudal fin or the tail fin, we say this one propels the fish forward. So if the fish want to move forward, this is now the fin that help it to move in water by moving forward. Also, when the fish want to turn or they want to change direction, if it was moving to this way and it want to turn, it will have to use the tail fin, so that it can change direction, either to move downwards, sideways, so that now to change the direction, it has what we call the tail fin. If you are asked what fin that help this animal to change direction, you talk of the tail fin. You talk of the tail fin. Now, number three, we have the dorsal and the anal fin. The function of the dorsal and the anal fin, they help to prevent the rolling of this fish. You may get that if the fish or the water has been affected or it has been polluted by the chemicals, you get that most fish now start rolling on the surface of water. What happened? That chemical kills the functions of all the fins. Now if if the fins have been killed and they cannot now function, you get that now the fish will just have to float on water. So the function of the dorsal and the anal fish, it's just to prevent the rolling of fish in water. Now, this fish also, the fish also has what we call the lateral line. I've already given the function. It is for sensitivity or to sense the change in pressure. Sensitivity for either enemy and also if there is danger. That is lateral line. Then also, the fish has what we call the swim bladder. The function of the swim bladder, it's also called the air bladder. This fin bladder, it has what we call the buoyancy or the buoyant. This buoyancy or buoyant is the ability of this fish now to float in water. So this one, the swim bladder, helps this fish so that it can keep floating on water. That's why if you pollute the water or you pollute the habitat of fish, you may get that now the fish will just have to float. Why? Because of the presence of the swim bladder. Also, the fish has the scales. These scales protect the fish from external injuries. And also, this scale here, it helps the fish so that to prevent the entry of water through the surfaces of the body of the fish. So it has scales to protect the fish against external injury, and also not to prevent that now to prevent the entry of water through the body surfaces. Now we have, that is, all these are on fish, and also the scales are on the birds. So when you talk of the birds, when we are talking about those birds that are they are filter feeders, we say they are webbed or they have webbed feeds. These webbed feeds, they increase the surface area between the toes. When they increase the surface area between the toes, it helps this bird here now to propel on the surface of water. So you may get that we have birds that just move on water or they swim in water. So they have what we call the webbed feeds that help them to propel in that water. Then also, this animal that is adapted for swimming, it has also what we call the streamlined body. The streamlined body, we said, it is for easier movement or a quicker movement. So if you look at the fish, if you observe at the fish, you may get, when you get at the head, at the end of this, that's the head here, you get that now it is sharp going this way, or it is pointed going that way. So at this point here is what we call now the streamlined body. It has a streamlined body for easier movement. We move to third group, that is the hopping, that is adaptation of animals for hopping and leaping. So first adaptation, they have the powerful hind legs. They have powerful hind legs. We have those that have powerful hind legs. Powerful hind legs means the hind legs are more masculine. So I hope that all of you understand what it means by masculine. So it has a powerful hind legs. This one helps these animals to move forward. So if you observe a grasshopper is a good example, it has a powerful hind leg so that now it can jump or hop to another direction. Also, we have those like example of a kangaroo, which have now the short, when you look at the kangaroo's legs, they are short. That's the four legs, they are short, but also the behind legs or the hind legs, they are strong and long. What makes it this way? So that it can help also for movement or jumping and leaping from one area to another. When you look at also a kangaroo, it has a tail, and the tail of this kangaroo, it is very strong. The reason why it is strong that way, so that now it can help it to balance when it is landing from one area to another. It helps it to balance in the air for leaping and hopping. Now, apart from this adaptation for flying, adaptation for swimming, adaptation for hopping and leaping, we have other adaptations of these animals that help them to survive or to move in different areas. We have number one, that is the other adaptation. We have what we call hibernation. Hibernation, this is the ability of the animal to remain dormant or to be inactive during the period of poor or difficult conditions. That is unfavorable weather conditions. When the weather conditions are unfavorable, either we have so much heat or so much cold, you get that the animal, they become inactive. Their body cells and enzymes become inactive. This one helps it now to survive during the unfavorable weather condition. So hibernation is ability of the animal to remain dormant during unfavorable weather condition. Example of the animal that hibernate is a frog. Number two, adaptation, we have what we call the camouflaging. Camouflaging is the changing of color. That is the ability of the animal to change its skin color so that it can match with the given environment. So if it moves to a green environment, you may that the animal changes color to be green, so that now it can fit the environment. And this one, mostly the animal is what we call the chameleon, that changes color from one area to another. This one for security and also to hide from their predators. So we have others, that is coloration. With coloration, it's much different with camouflaging, because camouflaging, it changes from red to green, from green to yellow. But now with coloration, this animal have specific color, constant colors that help them now to survive in their areas. For example, example is a leopard. When you look at the color of a leopard, it fits the environment that it lives in. The color of a crocodile, you may be walking on the water, so you may assume that this is either a highland, but it's not a highland, it's just a crocodile surface, it's there. So the moment you stand at that point, you get that now the crocodile sinks inside water and you followed it, so it obtains its prey. So that is for coloration. The skin color blends with the environment. Blending with the environment, that is fitting with the environment. Now, apart from talking about the adaptation of this animal for movement, adaptation for feeding, and flying, swimming, and also hopping, and this other adaptation, today we are also going to cover generally, because it is the final part of animals, we are going to discuss the signs, that's the signs that can tell us this animal is sick and this animal is not sick. So we talk of the signs of ill health in animals. The sign of ill health. Ill health, it means that is the presence of diseases in this animal. So what can tell us that this animal is not healthy? Number one, we talk of the standard growth or the retarded growth. I have always discussed standard growth. I said it's the normal growth. If the animal had to grow very fast at a period of either 3 to 5 years, we expect it to be at a certain height. But at the end of the day, 5 years go down the line, the animal is still very short, so that is standard growth. Number two, we talk of loss of weight. If we expect the animal to have 40 kg, but now at the end of the day you measure your animal weight and you get it is kg, this is loss of weight. From 40 to 20, that is a loss of weight. Number three, we talk of reduced yield. Reduced yield, if we expect the animal to give us, for example, milk of 10 liters per day, but now we get that the animal is giving us 3 liters per day. This is the presence of this animal being sick or being ill. So we talk of also coughing. It is not always good to get that the animal cough daily or after some periods. But now if there is continuous coughing of the animal, it means this animal is also ill. Number five, we talk of the blood in stool and also urine. The blood in stool, we don't expect these animals to have a lot of blood stains in their stools. But if we may have, so it means that that animal is affected with a certain disease. So we have to move with first to prevent that disease. So number six, we talk of loss of appetite. So if the animal used to eat maybe 2 kg of napier grass per day, but now you get that the animal is only eating 0.5 kg per day, that one is loss of appetite. Either the animal used to drink water, for example, maybe 10 liters of water per day, but you get it is now taking maybe 2 liters per day, that is a loss of appetite. Number seven, we talk of the discharge from mouth and also nose. Now, when we say we have this term called the running nose. When talk of running nose, this means now this animal is producing so much liquid stuff from its nose and also from their mouth. So that is what we call discharge from their nose and mouth. Then we also have dry muzzle. Dry muzzle are either nose or mouth. So we don't expect the animal's nose to be dry. Rather, we don't expect this animal, their noses or mouth to be that watery. So we expect it to be moderate. Either it's just moist, but it's not wet. It's just moist and not wet. It should not be dry. Number 9, that is the last sign that will tell us this animal is ill, is the change in the temperature. So if you measure the temperature of a certain animal, you get that the temperature is it's abnormal. It means that animal, it is sick or it is ill. Now the last part of today, we are going to discuss the effects of livestock diseases. Now if the animals are sick, if the animals are affected with the different diseases that we discussed, what will be the effects? What will be the outcome? Number one, we have low yield. when the animal loses reduced yield here. So this one, the reduced yield, I've already discussed it. That's the reduction in the production. If we expected to have a certain kilos of wool from a sheep, then we should have it. If it reduces, it means there is that is an effect of these diseases here. Then also number 2, we have death. We can lose that animal if it is affected by the fly, or it's affected with the armyworm, or it's affected with any other diseases. We say now this animal can also, we can lose it. That's death. Now under this, death can cause death to either human beings or also can cause death to the livestock. Now loss, that is number 4, the low quality. Low quality, for example, if we expected to have a very white milk, but now at the end of the day you observe your milk keenly and you get that there is stains of blood in that milk, that is the low quality. If we expect our wool to be purely red, but now we get that it is now has some stains that is not reddish, that is the low quality. Number 3, we talk of transmission or transmitting of diseases from either those animals from livestock to the human beings. For example, Nagana. In us, we call it a sleeping sickness. So this sleeping sickness can be transmitted from animals to us. So that one, we say transmission of diseases from animals to human beings. Number 4, we talk of high production cost. Production cost, this is where, for example, curing of this animal, we will need a lot of money for treatment of this animal. We may need a lot of money in search of the chemicals we can use to treat this animal against either diseases or also against these pests that we discussed, or parasites. Number 5, which is the last one, we are going to talk about the low income. If now your stable income was from these livestock, for example cows, you expect to have milk so that now you can sell to obtain your income. But now assume this animal has been affected by a certain disease. It means there is already reduction in the yield. If we have reduction in the yield, we have also the reduction in the income. And this reduction in income affects generally the nation and even worldwide. If now we used to export or import our products of milk of this animal to another country, it means that export we export, it will have been reduced, and also that one will lead to low foreign exchange. So this is all about today's discussion. So generally you have to understand animals from the day we started it, that is the introduction of animals, until the day you have finished it, that is on the effects of livestock diseases. So you have the capacity to go through all the discussed topics on our YouTube channel, so that now you can have updates on all the areas of animal discussion. Remember, if you have all this in your mind, you will be able to handle your exams as easier as it can. So thank you very much. Let's meet during our next topic, inshallah.